All right. All right. Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday. Friday, one of my favorite days of the week. We are here, you guys. I know on Rolling Out, there was a wonderful Seagram's panel with some great women. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I think for this conversation I'm about to have, I'm going to grab my Seagram's Escape and sip a little bit on my peach Bellini, courtesy of the beautiful Cynthia Bailey. But you guys know on Fridays, we get into relationships. It's all about relationships. We talk about some of the hottest reality shows, actually what's going on with celebrity gossip. So we're going to get into all that with my guest tonight. Now, if you are a fan of Married at First Sight, you will definitely recognize this gentleman that I'm about to bring on for tonight's conversation. I think he actually, for this season, needs no introduction. So please join me in welcoming Pastor Dwight.
Hey, thank you for having me, Christal. How's
How are
everybody doing? I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. How has your week been so far?
Our week has been going well, prosperous. Can't complain. It's going well.
Hey, that's a prosperous week. Is a great week. That's all right.
It's going real well. Can't
Well,
complain.
yeah. Well, we like I said, this series, Reality Check. We talk about relationships. We talk about and we talk about relationships on all levels. They could be dating, they could be friendship, they could be marriage. So I'm excited to get into a conversation with you because I know as a pastor, you deal with counseling people on relationships all the time, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I wanted to have a conversation. Like I said, I know a lot of people will recognize you from Married at First Sight, but I want to kind of lay some ground rules so that the viewers will kind of know what to expect tonight. Now, the series is still going on. We're still in, is it season 12? I'm not sure. I think it's season 12
Yes.
for Married at First Sight. So we are not going to be able to talk to Pastor Dwight about what is happening in the season because we want to make sure that we don't give any spoilers and people are still tuning in to this great show. It really is a great show. And so I want to make sure that people know that you are not able to speak on anything happening in the show this season. So you guys, with that out the way, because I know we got people tuning in already. People want this tea, but we are not here for the tea, at least not that tea.
Right. Not for that.
Not that tea. We're here to talk about relationships and to hear from a pastor's perspective, because I think one of the reasons that it makes such sense to have pastors be a part of that conversation is because they do a great job of really giving another accountable perspective to love and relationships. Do you think would you agree?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this, because we can talk about how your relationship was prior with Chris. It seemed on the show that you know Chris and another great group of guys. Can you kind of tell us how you guys came to be friends or came to be connected through the church?
Yes. Well, I came to know Chris through a mutual friend, and his mutual friend introduced me actually to his grandmother, who's a pastor, and I actually had the privilege to preach for her many, many years ago. Great, phenomenal woman of God, great family of preachers and things of that nature. And so I met Chris actually through a mutual friend and introduced me to his family, and that's how I met Chris. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, now I see the comments already lighting up. Now, when audiences saw you officiate the wedding and the council Chris, the question was, who is that? Who is that? Is he single? Can he be married at first sight? But you are not single, correct, Pastor Dwight?
Absolutely not. Excuse me. I'm married. I've been married for 11 years in August.
Wow. Awesome.
Uh, Absolutely adore and cherish my wife. We have two beautiful kids together, Elias Buckner and Malachi Buckner. And we've been married for almost 11 years. I just love her to death. We actually met in church. I used to be your Sunday school teacher.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I know because when I looked at your page, and I thought it was so great. She was supportive of she actually tweeted the flyer. So I was like, who is this? And I was like, that's Pastor Dwight's wife. So that's
and
great.
my wife is very low key. She's very behind the scenes. She's she's a mover and shaker, but she's very, very low key. Yeah.
How do you guys handle that? I got so many questions, and I'm going to ask you. We're going to talk about just celebrities and some of the things the church has really been involved in a lot of conversations lately.
Mhm.
So I want to ask your opinion, but let me ask you just being a pastor can sometimes be like being a celebrity in the fact that you have a lot of people that feel like they have access to you. How do you keep your relationships with your congregants to where they respect the relationship you have with your wife as a priority?
My family, number one, my wife is priority. Church comes, well, God is first. Family is second. Church is last.
Hmm.
Uh, and so any concerns regarding the members have any type of concerns of that nature, they know that God is first in my family, and then we'll take care of all the other things. Over the last few years, I've been privileged to pastor a great group of individuals, and they're very understanding and considerate when it comes to my family. They don't bombard me, so I'm not at the stage where it's just a bunch of people. But
Right.
I know how to keep that. I know how to keep it all lined up. But families first. But they handle it pretty well. They handle it pretty well. Yeah. So
Good.
I'm not at the stage where people are just running down the car trying to get.
It could get there soon, Pastor Dwight. It could get there.
Well, it's if it does, then it does. But family will always be first.
I like that.
Always,
Good,
absolutely. Always.
good
Yeah.
deal. Good deal. Do you think that pastors, and I'm thinking about, I've got to ask you this, and I want to get into love and relationships, but recently Kirk Franklin made headlines with
Mhm.
an audio tape that was revealed of he having a private conversation with his son. I had the opportunity to interview him the week before for Rolling Out. And one of the things that he mentioned consistently throughout that interview is the fact that there's no such thing as a perfect person. He talks about being in therapy and just dealing with some things. He's dealing with human issues because he's human. But do you feel, I want you to give me your take on that and then let me know, do you think that pastors often are held to a higher platform or standard than they can probably live up to themselves?
Well, pastors are definitely held to a higher standard because of the call and the office that they walk in and the leadership that they give to people. So they're definitely living a glass house. Everybody's watching what they do, watching what they say, finding reasons to say that they're not this, not that, because they're held to a higher standard. In terms of this particular situation, recently with our brother, Kurt, I think sometimes we fail to realize and to understand that these people are human. We understand you can be extremely gifted, but don't forget the humanity of people. We make mistakes.
Mhm.
We still have thoughts we shouldn't have, and there has to be some grace there. There has to be some grace there. And so with this situation, I love how Kurt has blessed us through the years with music, and he addressed the public in regards. But that was just an incident, and it's with family. Who doesn't have family issues?
Mhm.
Who doesn't have family drama?
Right.
Um, if we took a microscope and looked into everybody's houses, there's some drama in everybody's homes. This just happened to be something to be exposed. But
Mhm.
if people were to look in everyone's houses, everybody has something that they're dealing with. So I wouldn't. I'm definitely not a part of the crew of throwing him under the bus. He's human. He did what most of us done before. Had
Mhm.
it not been for grace
Yeah.
on our life and your life, we would still be doing something. And even at times now, we need God, Jesus, consistently to keep us from saying something crazy, from doing
Right.
something crazy. And so there has to be a level of grace there
Right.
uh, where when I see it, I just ignored it because I'm like, come on, we're human. You're gonna get mad, you're gonna get upset, you're gonna get frustrated.
Mhm. I don't
Mhm.
think any parent has is immune from that statement. I brought you into this world, I'll take you out. Now,
Right,
might have been a little different than that, but that's what I got from it. I was like, that I know what that is. I am a
right,
parent. You
right.
don't disrespect me. I don't care how old you are. You don't disrespect me.
I'm raising two boys,
Right.
and at no point will I be disrespected.
Right.
I
Absolutely.
won't. I won't tolerate it. And so I understand Kurt's stand. I understand he was frustrated, but you have to look at the overall character. That's not a part of his normal character. That
Mhm.
was a that was a mistake.
Right.
Okay. And so, yeah, it was a simple mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, simple mistake. Well, we have more people joining. Thank you guys for tuning in. We are, of course, talking to Pastor Dwight Buckner Jr. He's hanging out with us today on Reality Check. Now, I have to make sure that everybody knows that we are not able to talk about what's going on. I know people are tuning in to hear what is happening, but we're not able to talk about that. But I do want to ask you, Pastor Dwight, do you get an opportunity to counsel couples before they get married in your church?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead.
So talk to us about what is important for couples to know before they get married. What are some of the things that you're really focusing on prior to getting married?
Well, there are a number of things that are important for couples to know before they get married. One of the reasons we do premarital counseling and extensive 6 months is because you want to know who you're marrying, number one.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know what type of pedigree you're about to marry into, what type of lineage, what type of background, what runs in your family, what generational curses, what generational blessings. How does your family, how do you handle bills? How do you act? How do you act when you get angry? You're cute now, but when you get angry, what do you do? Do you have these volatile, sudden outbursts? All of this stuff is imperative before you get married, because I think for so long, before I got married, I was in love with the idea of marriage. I wanted to be married, wanted a family. There are a lot of those out there like that, want kids, want the house, want a dog. But actual marriage takes a lot of work. It's consistent maintenance, routine checkups. You're going to have some leaks sometimes. So what we do in premarital counsel is we evaluate. We evaluate the woman and the man. We find out their background, what's going on, what type of work do you do, your educational background, the sicknesses that run in the family. All of that is imperative. Now, if you just, now had we not had premarital counseling, then we will have a lot of issues. But premarital counseling should and must be a prerequisite before you get married. Don't ever marry anybody without premarital counseling, especially. I understand that you might be drawn away by looks or money, influence, but those are the outer accoutrements. That stuff fades in the past. Even Scripture says that charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Now, I brought up that Scripture to say this. What it's saying is that whatever is to be praised about someone you married is the fact that they love God. Their life is centered around God, because this outer can pass. You can get in a bad car accident or burn yourself. Will you still stay with me? Will you still love me? Yeah. So premarital counsel is absolutely imperative.
That's really good advice. I know that there are probably a lot of couples that jump in and don't do it. That's one of the reasons I love this show so much, because it's very romantic. It's a romantic idea that you could just fall in love so quickly. But do you think that after, say, a couple's already married, we're young, we jumped in. Do you come to counseling then? Can that work out?
Absolutely. You do premarital counseling, and you definitely do counseling after you get married. Me and my wife, we do marital counseling every Wednesday.
Oh, wow.
We're in marital counseling every Wednesday for at least 30 minutes. Why? Because it is absolutely imperative. Over the years, we might actually grow apart. And so what happens is what the marital counselor does is he helps us to synergize and to get things centered in terms of, well, how can we go from here? Where are your mess ups? Where are her mess ups? How can we get back on the same page? The number one thing that you do not want to do in terms of being married is lose communication. When the communication goes, that's room, we would say in spiritual terms, for the enemy to come in and to literally begin to tear your mind apart with thoughts, and I'm leaving and this and that. Me and my wife, we don't even bring up divorce. When we first got married, we were quick to say, well, I'm leaving him. But after you stay together for a while and you're invested and you realize, hey, I'm getting older, you're getting older, we ain't going nowhere. We still got much of our life. And it's also imperative that marital couples and couples who are planning to get married have a goal that they want to reach themselves outside of your individual goals. My wife knows my goals. I know her goals. But what are our goals together? Where do we want to see ourselves in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's great. That's great advice. And I think that's some of the things that people really are looking for right now.
Yeah.
I got to keep you connected to the headlines because, like I said, we talk about relationships here. And today, trending, we've had several relationship issues trending on social. We had J-Lo and A-Rod, and everybody is weighing in on their relationships. But I wanted to ask you about a young couple,
Hmm.
Sweetie and Quavo. So Sweetie, obviously, very celebrated artist, kind of couple hit songs last year. Quavo's part of the Migos. We know that they're very, very popular. So Sweetie posted today that she is single. She said, I'm single. I've endured too much betrayal and hurt behind the scenes for a false narrative to be circulating that degrades my character. Presents don't band-aid scars, and the love isn't real when the intimacy is given to other women. I emotionally checked out a long time ago and have walked away with a deep sense of peace and freedom. I'm excited for this new chapter of elevation. So
Mm.
she basically let people know she's been cheated on. She's dealt with a lot of emotional pain, and she's no longer is open to being in that relationship. I'm going to
Mm.
read you his quote, and then I want to get your comments just on the idea of infidelity and what that does to a relationship.
Okay.
So so he says he comes back. Of course, he has to say something on social media because she made a post and a lot of people were going crazy over her being single. And he says, I'll play my part. I know you want to make this into a show. I normally don't put my business out there, but I feel the need to address this. I had love for you and I disappointed you. Yes, I did all that. You are not the woman I thought you were. I wish you nothing but the best. So what
Mm.
I noticed is that he acknowledged what he did, but he came back in and jabbed her with the "you're not the woman that I thought you were." So
Right.
I'm going to ask you from a pastor's perspective, what is your advice when infidelity happens in a relationship?
All right. That's a great question. Here's the number one thing. Number one, we live in a tell it all generation.
Mhm.
Okay. The first thing we do now is we voice our frustrations on
Mhm.
social media, which is a major no. Let me
Oh,
tell you why. You don't do that because you're letting people into your business really who don't care about what you're going through.
mhm.
And so you're sharing your information that should be kept between you and the person that hurt you. Everything doesn't need to be public. Let me say this to some singles that might be listening who are in a relationship. When you go through a breakup, don't post it on social media. Why? Because you might get back with them.
Right. What-
You might want to go on another date with them in the future. So don't make yourself look crazy because your mind you change.
Mhm.
And we love to post on social media. So the first thing is I wouldn't have done that. Now, since she went public, he goes public.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
He makes a statement about what he's did because she probably never gone public. I'm not saying what he did wasn't, I'm saying what he did was wrong, but they could have possibly handled this without the public knowing. Because when you post things publicly, now you have the
Mhm.
pressure of the public. People sending you messages and hey, what are you guys still together? And so now you added a whole world into
The
your
world,
relationship.
the whole world, right?
And so now, how are you going to announce to them we're back together? One of the major challenges I have I've never met her, but one of the major challenges I had with Jennifer Lopez is we've always known about her through music and dance and movies, but we've also known publicly about every last one of her relationships. Now,
Mhm.
she very well might be a wonderful woman in relationships, but the fact that we always see it on social media kind of sends bad signals like, wow, why can't A-Rod stay with her? Why can't they stay in a relationship? Why is this not working? Why is this not working? Because everybody's seeing it all the time.
Right.
Um, in terms of infidelity now, um, I, now they weren't married, right?
They're not married. They're not
Okay,
married.
okay. Now I'm going to get into something that's really going to step on a lot of toes here,
Come
but
on,
it's true.
come on, Pastor Dwight.
Um,
Keep it real.
let me say this to you. There is a reason why it is strict requirements in terms of you not laying with somebody physically until you get married.
Mhm.
When you give your body away to somebody that you're not married to, you catch what they call a soul tie.
Yeah.
You're connected to them. Soul ties are really only meant for your spouse.
Mm,
You and your spouse are only you and your spouse are supposed to be that close.
right.
Nobody should have a piece of your body that has not made a covenant under God that
Mm,
this is your person, this is my person. But nowadays we've went backwards. We
mm-hmm,
say, well, I could live with you for 3 years, have
mm-hmm,
kids, and never marry you.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I can date you, have all of the sex in the world that I want to have with you, but
mm-hmm.
not be held accountable.
Right.
I can use you up. Okay, I can use you up, but never purchase
Mm,
what I've been using.
mm-hmm,
And so it's hard for me when people talk about infidelity in relationships sexually. They shouldn't even be laying together sexually. Now, there's a lot of people that are saying, well, that's hard. I can't do that. Yes, you can. You have to, we have to learn how to bring our flesh under subjection. The
mm-hmm,
challenge is once you open yourself and once you expose yourself to somebody, it's you can no longer be unexposed to them. So
yeah.
once they open up to each other, they're one now. So now it actually feels like a marriage, but you're
Mm-hmm,
not married. You're
mm-hmm.
dating, but you did a married thing.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, that's real. That is all 100% real. I do
It,
want
it,
to ask you
Go ahead.
with marriage, right? Because
Mhm.
we see a lot there. There was a couple that I interviewed, Love and Marriage Huntsville, married couple, husband has stepped out on his wife, and wife says, just like this young girl said, we're married, we got 4 kids. I'm not doing this anymore. I gotta go. She
Mhm.
filed for divorce. Turns out he has a child outside of the marriage. Now, when I talked I interviewed the guy, it's obvious he truly loves his wife. It's
Mhm.
also obvious his wife is truly over the pain that he's put her through. My
Hmm.
question is there, in your opinion, because I know the Bible says, as I sip my peach Bellini, I know what the Bible says. I don't want to be disrespectful, Pastor, but I will have a little sip of
No,
my
no,
peach Bellini. But
no problem. Go ahead.
Bible says that if there's divorce, I mean, if there is infidelity, you do have the ability to get divorced. However, we just heard you say, you should take out the idea of divorce from your vocabulary. In your opinion, once infidelity has happened,
Yes,
do you have a right to get a divorce?
absolutely. Let me say this: God hates divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, marriage is not to be played with, and God hates divorce. There's a study that shows that a divorce is actually harder than death
I believe it.
because when you divorce somebody, that is it's on in a sense almost tougher because it's like a death, but you still may have to see them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the issue here is that whenever you're married and you go through infidelity, the Bible does give you requirements in terms of you're able to get a divorce if there's infidelity there.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to stay in a marriage where they keep getting cheated on. Who
Mm-hmm.
wants to stay married? That's not what our covenant said.
Mm-hmm.
Forsake all others and be united, and God brings us into becoming one flesh.
Right.
Um, so infidelity is a grounds for divorce. The problem is that there are some mistakes in terms of those that have made the mistake of infidelity. There are some mistakes that you just have to live with. You may love your spouse still, you may still want to be with them, but unfortunately, sometimes we have to live. Your life is a sum total of the decisions you make, and
Mm-hmm.
you may have to just live with that decision. There
Mm-hmm.
are hundreds of people who are in the prison system that made one crazy mistake, but they have to live with their mistake they made. Are they the mistake they made? No, they made a mistake, but they still have to deal with the consequences of their actions.
Mm-hmm.
And so, had he had an opportunity to do it another way, I'm sure he would not have done that. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, that might be something that he may have to just grow through and learn with, and then use it as a testimony to
Mm-hmm.
help other men and tell them what not to do. Use it as a teachable moment.
Right. There's someone's asking if you can give the scripture that speaks to divorce in the Bible.
That one I don't know off the top. I'm gonna be honest with you, but
Okay.
it's in there. I wish I had the chapter and the verse, but I don't, and I'm not gonna take you around circles.
Yeah, well,
But
I
it
know
is.
if you Google divorce in the Bible, I know it's not,
Mhm.
it'll come up, and it's in several in the New Testament and the Old Testament. So I
Absolutely.
know that
Absolutely.
to Emerald Taring. So he's definitely right. I want to ask you one more question about this celebrity chat.
Okay.
I think a lot of people look to celebrities as leaders, you know.
Mhm.
As you know, you see a lot of people thinking, oh, I want to have a relationship like Jay-Z and Beyonce, or I want to be like, you know, even Barack and Michelle, or different people that they don't really know, but they see these images and these pictures, and they feel like they want to pattern their relationships after it.
Yeah.
So there was a quote, someone tweeted, and the Jasmine brand posted this. It said, weeks ago, Quavo gave Sweetie a Bentley. Now they're no longer together. Team breakup with your man if he doesn't treat you like Quavo treats Sweetie has gone AWOL. That was actual hashtag. It's a
Mhm.
pity this generation sees material gifts as love language rather than actual affection, true love, and loyalty. How do you feel people can get, do you feel people can get into a bad cycle focusing on the external as opposed to the internal when it comes to like gifts? And, you know, there's this whole idea of a high value man means a man that
Yes.
pays all the bills.
Yeah. Let me say this. Everything new you get will eventually get old.
Mm,
Uh, you buy a new car, it'll get old. You get some new clothes, it'll get old. You get some new sneakers, they'll get old. I think we have to, in terms of what we have seen in terms of this generation, I want to say this. You have to find some inner happiness within yourself.
mm,
Take yourself to the movies, okay? Find some joy about yourself, some things you like about yourself, so that when you do get into a relationship, if they leave with the house and the car, you're still
mm,
happy.
right.
Do not put all of your trust in what somebody's giving you to make you happy. If you
Mm,
don't wake up in the morning uh, every day and say, God, I just want to thank you for what you're making me into, the things you have for me. Come to know them for yourself and find joy within yourself. Be happy for yourself. One of the worst things you can do is date somebody because you're insecure.
mm,
You have to know who you are, because if you date somebody because you're insecure, now you've given them license to manipulate you. You've
mm,
given them license to take advantage of you. You've given them license to run over you because they know that. But when you run into somebody who's overly confident in who they are, not cocky, but overly confident, knows what God has called them to do, you can't shake them, because whether you stay or go, they're still going to move forward in their purpose, in their future. And I just want to speak to everybody that's gone through a bad breakup that feels like you're nothing. You were somebody before they came.
mhm.
You were somebody before they came. You have got to know who you are. And you need to keep your mind. Don't lose your mind over the woman or the man who left, because you need your mind for who's coming.
You need your mind for who's coming. I like that. Someone's
Absolutely.
put the scripture addressing divorce there. I definitely appreciate that. I think that people are trying to navigate. Everybody wants love. Everybody wants to be in something amazing. Um, that just again speaks to the things that people are attracted to. I love that statement you said, when you know, get in a situation and you're insecure, you give the person license to manipulate you. That's so deep.
Mm.
Talk to, because there's a lot of women. Obviously, the show, most of my viewers are women. I definitely hold the sisters down. What are
Yeah.
some things that women should look for in a husband, and some things that we should avoid when we're praying and asking for a husband, and you know, to be married?
The number one thing you should look for in a husband is his relationship with God. And I can't stress that enough. And I don't want to be overly spiritual tonight for audience, but you have got to look for someone who has a personal relationship with God. Let me say this to you, for some of the women that are listening. Um, Trust God that when you ask Him for a mate, that
Mhm.
He will give you exactly what you ask for. Let me say this to you. Stop thinking that God will send you projects. Oh, he doesn't have this, and but I'm going to work with him, or he doesn't have a job, but I'm going to believe. Wait a minute here. If you are believing God for the man of your dreams, for the man who would you'll ride off into the sunset with and have children with, then please believe God that He would bring you everything that is suitable for you.
Mm,
I think. there's this notion that, whenever you're working on a building, they put up scaffolding to paint and to build the structure that they're building to stand on. And I think oftentimes that we can be content just dating the scaffolding.
Mm.
I'm going to make him into what I want him to be, but it's scaffolding. It doesn't have a whole lot there. Trust God for the building.
Mm.
Trust God that it's already, and it won't be perfect, but it sure will help you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, you don't have to settle for somebody who, I'm going to say this, but you don't have to settle for somebody who speaks negative to you or abuses you, or somebody who's out in the streets. You don't have to settle for that. Do you know who you are in God's eyes? You can't settle for scaffolding. Settle for something that is already a solid structure. And the only way to do that is to ask God, send me a man who has your heart. Because a
Mm-hmm.
man who has your heart will exemplify the attributes of Christ. They won't just say they're of God, but you'll be able to see the fruit of their life and say, this man is different. He
Mm.
doesn't get angry easily. He doesn't curse a lot. He reads his word. You'll be able to see the fruit of their life. Yeah.
Right, the fruit of their life.
Mhm.
One more question about that. If you are married, and I talked to a young woman a few weeks ago, and she's like, I'm married. I've been married for 3 years, but we're just on two different pages.
Mhm.
When do you know that you've done everything that you can and it's okay? Even it may not be infidelity. It could just be that he's, he and I are not on the same page. He's not following God.
Mhm. Mhm.
He's not, we're just not, he may be verbally abusive. He may be, just in the street. It could be different reasons, but if you're not on the same page, is there a situation where a woman can say, you know what, I've got to go ahead and move forward with divorce? Or do you think that people should always try to work it out once they're married?
Well, I would give this suggestion, and that is how often did you guys pray?
Mm.
Because studies show that couples that pray together are 98.1% going to stay together. And I
Wow.
think I think the absence a lot of times is prayer. We'll be wishing and hoping that somebody changes and we feel like we're growing apart. But how often have you prayed together?
Mm-hmm.
Because what prayer does is prayer brings you together and has a level of intimacy that you can't even explain.
Mm-hmm.
And so we routinely keep prayer in our marriages and our relationships. We grow closer together. You grow
Mm-hmm.
apart when there's no spirituality. You grow apart when you don't pray. You grow apart when you don't read God's word. You grow apart when you don't have God as the center of the foundation. But
Right.
I will say this: if you are in a situation where you feel like you've done all of that and you're still growing apart, then yes, I by no means would I advocate you standing in something that is abusive or condescending
Right.
or or making you feel lower than who you are. Absolutely not. You run. You get out of that thing because we refuse to allow you to stay in something that makes you feel like you're terrible, and you've already wasted a lot of your years. I wouldn't. I'm an advocate that you would leave that. But if it is salvageable, if
Mm-hmm.
it can come back, if you can restore it, then I would try those tools of implementing prayer first.
I'm going to ask you a hard question now. There are a lot of men in the church that are not they know how to say all the right things. They know how to bring the Bible out. They know how to do all those things, but their energy is not that way. I grew up in the
Yeah.
church, and I remember, people think, oh, as long as he's in the church, he's okay. That's not always the case. A lot of times people
Mhm.
use the church to manipulate, right? They
Mhm.
use
Yes.
that idea to manipulate people. So how can you speak to how women or men, because there could be a girl that says she's going to church and she's still using that to manipulate. How do you know if that person is truly, their spirit is truly right, or if they're using the religion to be manipulative?
Well, I would say just because you met them in church does not necessarily mean that they are a believer
Mm.
or Christian. The physical four walls of you going into church meeting somebody does not mean that they're a Christian. I would
Mm-hmm.
rather have you meet them outside of the church. That is the biggest test to see if they are really of God and they exemplify the attributes of Christ. There's been a lot of people that have been scarred by people they've met in the church that have been they had come across as angels, but they were laced in some other things, and the real came out. And so, just because yeah, you meet somebody in church, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're special or they're the one. And so you want to see how they are outside of the church.
Mhm.
What do they do on a day-to-day basis? Anybody can be nice on a
Right.
Sunday morning or Saturday morning in church.
Mhm.
But who are you at Monday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
Mhm.
Who are you on a Wednesday at 5 o'clock? Those are the true tests. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that because we have to hold everybody accountable. If you're just tuning in, we're having a great conversation on relationships and relationships from a spiritual perspective with Pastor Dwight that we saw on this season of Married at First Sight. Pastor Dwight, before you leave, I want to ask you, did you have any reservations about being on television? Were you nervous? Were you
Well,
hesitant about that?
well, let me say this. I never asked for television. Um, this was an opportunity that was presented to me, and I accepted it. And once I accepted it, um, doors kept opening, and I kept taking them. And then it wasn't until I got through that I realized, God, thank you for opening up the doors to be able to be somewhat of a beacon of light in terms of being there, just trying to provide counsel and things of that nature. And
Mhm.
so I'm grateful for the opportunity. But I never set out to say, hey, I'm going to try to get on the, I just let God do it. And I accepted the opportunity. And, I'm thankful for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it gives you a platform to do things like this and to talk to people. There are a lot of people that are tuning in and enjoying this conversation. Let people know how they can follow you on social, how they can reach out to learn more about your ministry.
All right. You can follow me on social media and on Instagram, Pastor Dwight Buckner Jr. on Instagram, or you can follow me on Facebook, Dwight Buckner Jr., or on TikTok,
Okay.
uh, Pastor Dwight Buckner Jr. That's actually my largest platform, TikTok.
Really? Are you
Yeah.
doing TikTok dances? Are you and the wife doing?
No. I do services on TikTok.
Do you
I,
really?
Yeah, I said when I joined TikTok, I wasn't going to do none of that. I do services on TikTok. I do services at 10:15 on Saturdays and 11 on Tuesdays.
Wow.
Bible study right on TikTok. Yep.
I will say, I
And
didn't even know that you could do that. That's
yeah,
it.
I go live for about an hour and a half,
Wow.
and people are on there up to almost 200 people, and
Wow.
I minister the word, and I'm gone. No dancing, no nothing, just word.
I know
Yeah.
if you and your wife are doing a little routine. We saw Beyonce and Jay-Z put a little routine together for their Grammy wins. I thought you guys might have had a holy routine.
We can do that. We can do that, but I'm strictly on there for the word. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for entertaining us and hanging out with
Mhm.
us today, talking a little bit about relationships, entertaining our questions on Kirk Franklin and Sweetie and Quavo. Hopefully, everybody will work their situations out. We wish you much success
Thank
with
you.
your ministry, and hopefully, we'll get a chance to talk to you again.
Thank you so much for having me, Christal. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. I appreciate Pastor Dwight hanging out with us, even though we know he could not get into anything about what's going on this season of Married at First Sight, because it's very important that everything stay under wraps until the end of the season. But definitely appreciated some really, really great advice on relationships and, things to look out for that are not right. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me as always on a Friday. I will be back on Monday with a very special reality check. So I will see you guys then Monday at 8 p.m. Until then, have a great weekend and we'll see you soon.